Welcome to the Sportsman's Voice podcast, your inside connection to outdoor legislation. From the Beltway to policy happening your way, we're covering it all. I'm your host, Fred Bird. Join us as we explore public land access, wildlife and fisheries management, Second Amendment rights, the triumphs that shape our nation, the sports we all love, and the stories that fuel our passion for the great outdoors. This is the Sportsman's Voice podcast. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I am your host, Fred Bird, and welcome to the Sportsman's Voice podcast. It is a pleasure to be here with you all and welcome into the, I guess technically the first episode of the Sportsman's Voice podcast. We are your inside connection to outdoor legislation, and as the intro states, we're going to dive into it all, folks. This first episode here is our introduction. It's getting to know you, getting to know me, me getting to say hello to you guys and learn a little bit about me and, where we're going with this program. I am no stranger to the podcasting world for a number of years. I have hosted, produced, interviewed many people in the book and bullet space, primarily bullet. Great passion for turkey hunting, all hunting truly, but a lot of the storytelling came from that side of the house, conservation stories, habitat work, all those kind of things. And what's really neat about this program is, for me personally, as a host, is getting ready to dive into the policy world in the conservation space and the angling space and the 2A space. And we always got to touch on it in prior projects, but never got to dive into it or have the access to the policymakers, to the people that are writing legislation, to the decision makers, really. And we're going to bring you all of that. My goal always with podcast projects and these shows is to bring the professionals, bring the industry type people on so you can get to know them, know that they're human beings. They're more than pitchmen, pitchwomen. They're more than just these ambiguous folks that you may see on the news for 30-second, 60-second sound bites, right? Pulling that curtain back, the inside baseball, if you will, of what we do. And, here at Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation, that's pretty interesting. Definitely to bring you both sides of the aisle. Those that are familiar with my work in the past, and as this audience gets to know me a little bit, you're going to hear that theme come up quite a bit. What I have found over the years is that we're not so, binary. This is not everyone fits into a tidy little form, right? We live in a world of memes now, right? Everything's so concise, and you either fit into this stereotypical meme, this Elmer Fudd meme in the hunting space, and that elicits all these, invokes all these different stereotypes, and with that comes you must sit on a certain side of the political spectrum. Wow, I think most of us, if we're being truthful, and I'm here to tell you that couldn't be the furthest thing from the truth, and I look to shed a good light on that and prove it by bringing on policymakers, politicians from both sides, middle, center, right, whatever you want to call it. Put the Venn diagram on there, start filling in all the blanks, and eventually we're going to meet in the middle. I've proven that with many of my friends. We are, when you put us on that political Venn diagram, we are most things worlds away from each other, right? But in the conservation space, the things that matter, the natural world, man, we fall right almost in line. We find ourselves in that cross section, right in the middle. And, if we focus on the things that matter, like, and especially when it comes to hunting, fishing, trapping, recreational shooting, and our freedoms, there's a whole lot of us that agree. Now, the peripheral stuff aside, focus on the stuff that matters. And that's what we're going to bring to you here. And that's what I hope we do in a very entertaining, thoughtful, and purposeful way. There's a myriad of topics Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation policy team works on. Of that, I am, full disclosure, a member of. I am the assistant manager in the New England states, and recently the lead here in the Mid-Atlantic states north to the Canadian border. So, my colleagues and myself, we're working on a whole host of items, everything from Sunday hunting laws and certain, there's still some states out there with Sunday hunting issues. Big five bans imports, so African hunting, conservation overseas, what's that mean and how's that work for hunters bringing their stuff back? We're engaged on things like that. You know, lead bans, working on the refuge systems. There's a whole bunch of items, chronic wasting disease, 30 by 30 issues, and a lot of this stuff, if you don't know what it is, you're going to get to know. We're going to bring these things up and dissect them and get them to you in very digestible ways, not very heady or wonkish sort of way. It's wonky stuff, but we're going to present it in a way that you can come away from a 60 to 90-minute investment of your day, your time, maybe spread over a couple days, and you're like, I got that. And one thing I have found too is that our community, my past audiences, and the conservation community in large part is extremely engaged when it comes to wanting information, seeking the right information, and then challenging that information. It's not uncommon for, a regular Joe Six-Pack to be like, I want to see a peer-reviewed journal article on X. And you say that to most people on the street, what are you talking about? Peer review? What? Journals? What? What are we? When it comes to the science, when it comes to the conservation, when it comes to factual numbers, all right, show me the empirical evidence that can back up, a potential ban on lead jigs or lead ammunition. Show me the science that proves that. Show me that Sunday hunting is, a bad thing, and then the moratoriums in certain states are there for a reason, and I can either agree with or oppose them, right? Our community constantly wants this information. Man, oh man, are we able to bring that to you on this particular program at great depth. But again, I come back to it that what we're going to give to you is going to be very, very digestible and very, plain spoken. I want everybody that's listening to this, it's not just our caucus members who are fantastic, who do the work for us, who we love working with, but it's not just them consuming this. This is your buddy at the Beagle Club or the Rod and Gun Club down the street. You're like, hey, there's an issue in Oklahoma. We got to tune you into this. This is what we're doing. So like this show, we're going to cover that, bring you to the state capitals, what's going on in your state, what's happening at the federal level. Of course, that's the uber sexy stuff that you'll see on the nightly news, the stuff that'll, grab the industry headlines by the throat and say, oh, there's this attack, or, here's some great stuff happening. But a lot of the stuff that's happening is on the ground in your backyards. And often that stuff gets looked over. I would challenge that most people probably don't even couldn't name a state senator, never mind their local representative, right? Or whatever they're called in your states, councilmen, delegates, things like that. There's all different, right? Now, where I live, I'm up here in New Hampshire, the live free or die state, the Granite State. I think we have the most representation for one of the smallest states. We boast the largest legislative body, I believe, in all 50 states. So I think, we even challenge Texas, right? So, which is like a country unto itself. So there's a lot of people that are making decisions on your behalf throughout our country. And like I said, in your backyard, that, we should know these people. We should know what they're thinking. And especially when it comes to issues that are important to us, that will affect our ability to go out into the fields and the forests and the lakes and the streams and the oceans and partake in the recreating that we like, the kind of consumptive recreating that we enjoy. Not every state, and this will come to a surprise to a whole bunch, because I think so many people think that we have a right to hunt, fish, and trap in all of our states, and in fact, we do not. It's about half of the states in the union actually have amended their state constitution, which is a rigorous process in most states, for good reason, right? Otherwise, we would just constantly be changing this, changing that, changing this, changing that with every new administration. So, I mean, the process needs to be rigorous because these issues are that important. So, again, back to the stat, you're looking at roughly half the country. The other half does not have a right to hunt, fish, or trap. It is a privilege. There's some state language that will not rise to the occasion, the gravity of a state constitution um, ratification. But there's some good strong language, but it could be stronger. Those rights could be guaranteed, and I tend to think, and I think we tend to think that's a true statement, right? And I think our community does. So we will bring those kinds of stories. What worked? What worked in Maryland? What's going on in Florida? Where were you almost at the finish line and it didn't work? What are the consequences of that, right? So when you're listening to this and you're wanting to call your local representative or your state senator and say, hey, we need to do this. Well, here's some of the steps. Here's how you can do that. We're going to offer you that information. We're going to bring you our leadership and introduce you to our executive staff. We're going to work to bring you some of our board members. We have 3 caucuses, right? Our caucus groups include our Sportsmen's Caucus, our Congressional Sportsmen's Caucus that was founded in 1989. From here on out, you'll probably hear me call it the CSC, right? Congressional Sportsmen's Caucus. So those are made up of legislators from all the states, and more of the notable names, household names you'll hear coming out of that. And then we have our Governor's Caucus, our gubernatorial Sportsmen's Caucus. Right now, my governor in the state of New Hampshire is a co-chair, Governor Chris Sununu, who is wrapping up, calling it a career, and we thank him for his many years of service to the Granite State, as well as the Governor's Sportsmen's Caucus. And then, of course, out of Louisiana, Governor John Bell Edwards also co-chairs. These are bipartisan organizations, right? These caucuses, so it's not leaning one way or another. We work very hard to strike that balance. And last but certainly not least is the NASC Council. This is made up of representatives from all over the country. I believe we have representation from all the states. Our National Assembly of Sportsmen's Caucuses that was launched in 2004. And current information is we have roughly 2,000 state legislators. That's the number, who are members of individual state legislative sportsmen's caucuses, and that is all 50 states. So we hope to bring you some of those stories and bring you some of those people and let them talk about their passions for conservation, the outdoors, angling and shooting sports, why they signed up, why are they members of these different caucus groups, and then ultimately our CSF family. And that's going to be some pretty incredible access, honestly. I mean, you're going to have major news networks knocking on these folks' doors, wanting to put them on a calendar for a 60-minute, 60-second, 120-second interview that you're going to get 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock news, or just get them for a Twitter quote. And we get to bring you, full hour and a half sit downs with people that are literally writing history, or in some cases correcting it. So that in and of itself is going to be exciting. And again, I referenced earlier our team here, policy team, with talented staff from all over the country. The way we're split up, we can talk about that as we get into it, but we have the country divided into different regions. I referenced earlier, the Mid-Atlantic on up to Maine and the border of New York that I oversee, and then, really hone in on the New England states. So that is one region, and then southern regions, Gulf region, the western states are split up. So there are extremely talented people on our staff that oversee and manage and work alongside these state organizations and their leadership. We're going to bring you those people. We're going to put them on. You're going to hear from our, like I said, I keep saying talented staff, and I will tell you, I've had the pleasure in my professional life to work with some of the best, whether it was my Air Force days, um, the late '90s into the early 2000s, um, the talents of people that I've worked with in the conservation space. And when I joined this team, I was blown away, and truth be told, felt largely inadequate. Certainly, my longevity in the space, and some of the know how and understanding of how things work allows me to lend my talents and a bit of experience to this team. But as you'll find out, some of the most articulate and brightest minds, and you just sit there and you listen to them, and it's a treat, man. And then you will all learn. I think, you know, when it comes down to these podcasts and when people are tuning in, you know, in a 30-second attention span world, they still work. And as long as the storytelling is quality, as long as the people we put on for you to listen to and talk about the information that's relevant to you and the information you're seeking is presented in a good way, and you're coming away with something, you're getting something for the investment in your time. They continue to work and really, really well. So, as we wrap up here, my thoughts, often you will not hear me monologue this long because there's only so much to say other than I can just start reading, and you don't want to hear that. But I hope this first offering here gives you a little flavor of what we're looking to do, what the goals are, and naturally, as this project gets long in the tooth and it evolves, we'll be able to offer you more and create different content from it and bring more access. And definitely, the listening audience, I want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. What do you want to hear about? What's happening in your state? What's important to you? And then we can, I mean, it works both ways, this relationship. Um, you guys are going to hear me more than I hear you. However, if you email in or you get on social and drop us some messages about the show, what you want to hear, and give us some feedback as the line is set. We are your inside connection to outdoor legislation. That is, there's some depth to that statement. And, we will help where we can, and we will work tirelessly to uphold and make sure our way of life, our traditions are not cast to the side and overlooked. Because quite frankly, I think as most people in this community know, the sportsmen and women that engage in the outdoor sports, that hunt and spend their dollars on hunting and fishing equipment, recreational shooting, especially through excise taxes. That's what makes this all work. We are, you know, a small group in the grand scheme of the population that are getting it done for everybody, which is pretty unique. And we're okay with that, I think. You go all the way back to the beginning of that self-funding of Pittman Robinson and sportsmen and women coming together, being like, hey, uh, we have a mechanism to make sure this stuff lasts, and we're willing to do that. Here's our hand; it's raised. Go ahead. We'll pay the way. So that's it. We want to see these things last, and if we're doing things right in our states, if we're sending the right people to the hill, we can work to keep these things going and make sure that we're leaving something better than we found it, especially to our kids and grandkids, and eventually the family members we'll never meet, right? So that's the idea. Folks, it's been a pleasure putting this first offering together. This is only a fraction of what we intend to put out here. Again, this is it's going to be released every couple weeks. That's the plan right now. And again, as we grow and if demand grows, and there is no shortage of content here, obviously, we will look to up our efforts. But for now, you can count on us every other Thursday. We will release. You can look for teasers on our social media. And if you're not signed up, let me bring it up here. The Sportsman's Voice podcast is an offshoot of our original publication, The Sportsman's Voice. And that is an e-publication every week, every Monday, in fact. That hits email boxes about 5 Eastern. And those are different write-ups from our policy team. Yours truly also contributes to that. So what's happening from around the states, the different regions, try to bring you something that's going on and keep you informed. So that was the original and still is. And like I said, I recommend that you sign up for it. You can go to congressionalsportsmen.org /newsletter. You'll be there. You can enter your contact information, hit sign up today. It's free. And then you'll stay informed. You'll stay in touch with what's going on. Our marketing communications team does a great job of putting that together. We're going to bring you stuff that's happening nationally, little news items, snippets, hook and bullet snippets from around the country. And then also, like I said, the meat and potatoes of the weekly offering there. So you guys can go there. Again, congressionalsportsman.org /newsletter / sign up there. Every week, you're going to get that fired off to your email account. And then you have this, the audio version of that, if you will. And then, you will also do weekly roundups of the TSV. So when we weren't on air last week, we're going to bring you a little roundup, what was happening across the country. You can look forward to that feature right away. As soon as we come into the show, boom, we're going to hit you with a TSV roundup, and then we'll get into the show, a little news update, and then we'll bring you to the content, and then we'll wrap. So that'll be the format, and that's what you can look forward to. Again, as we go, I'll put out the information, the contact, how you can get in touch with us, where you can find us, rate us, and I'll just go into that now. You will hear us, you're hearing us on every podcast platform where you can find a podcast. And I would encourage you, you're going to hear this one more time, to follow us, to subscribe, to rate where available, and help this new project stand up on its very strong limbs and climb the charts, as it will. So there's all that. There's the housekeeping. So find us, guys, socially, tap in there, follow along, stay up to date. That's it. On the next offering, we will, like I said, we'll tease that out, let you know who's coming on. We got a great lineup of guests that we're in the process of booking that we look to bring to you, and it should be fun. Thanks for having us along in your day, your evening, your sweat session at the gym, your ride to the soccer fields or the grocery store, wherever you're at across this great nation. Thank you for having us be a part of your day and tuning in. And we'll catch up with you next time. See ya. Thanks for joining us on this edition of the Sportsman's Voice podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, your support is crucial, and you can help us out right now by leaving a review, filling in those 5 stars where available, sharing this episode with friends and family, and engaging with us socially. CSF can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Together, we can protect the outdoor sports we love and continue to keep you informed wherever you are. That's it for this week. Until next time, we'll see you later.